Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back to the show. We are so excited to have Richard, the owner of RDM Restoration and Move, joining us here today from Yorktown, New York. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Thanks, Jill. Yeah, I'm doing great.
Well, pleasure to have you here live today on not only the podcast, but on the Zoomcast. So for starters, would you mind just introducing yourself to our listeners to start?
Sure. My name is Rich McHale. I own a business called RDM Restoration and Move Managers. I'm originally from Westchester County, New York, but since then I've moved up to Dutchess County, right outside Poughkeepsie, and I've been there for the last 24 years. Wow.
So RDM Restoration is serving, you said mostly like the Hudson Valley, correct?
Yeah, the entire Hudson Valley. I go all the way up from Columbia County down to New York City on both sides of the Hudson River.
Beautiful. Now, before we, get to talk more about the company and all you do, I would love to get a little more of your background. Give me, the little bio. I need to get to know you as a person, wherever you're born and raised. Tell us how you got into this career, because I believe you were in another career as well.
Yeah. So when I was growing up in Westchester, I was in I call it the poor section of Westchester. I was in the P-scale area, although that is going up pretty well as much as Westchester has.
Yes.
But anyway, I was in a family business called J.P. McHale Pest Management, and we were a family-owned business. We serviced the Hudson Valley, the tri-state area, New York City, with pest solutions for residential, commercial, and industrial, places. We sold in 2019. I thought I was going to be retired at 47, 48 years old, or whatever I was at the time. And then COVID hit, and I had a family of 5. And I said, I better get back to work. So I did some research and found a downsizing business that I thought was interesting. I like helping people. And I saw a need for seniors that are retiring. The baby boom generation is aging out. And I think there's a statistic, don't quote me on it, but I think it's 60 million people over 65 years old right now in this country. And that number is going to increase over the next 15 years, and they need help downsizing. They're going to be moving into a smaller space, whether it's assisted living, independent living, or just a smaller home. And they've accumulated over 50 years of content or plus. Maybe when my dad died in 2016, this is another reason why I got into this business. There was, a house that they raised 3 boys in that had over 50 years of content. We had to help my mom downsize, get her out of that house into a smaller space. And it was a project. And since then, I really kind of saw the need for that service.
Well, thank you for being here today and giving us a little bit of that background. It's always great to get to know the person that we're working with, and excited to talk more about, what you all do at RDM Restoration and Move, because you're working with a lot of different entities. So why don't you give us a little overview of, the types of work that you're doing?
So once we, my wife and I got honed in on this service, we were originally going to go to the franchise. My skill set was very limited, Jill. I did one thing for, my entire life since college through 2019, and that was to kill bugs. So my skill set was very limited, and I had to, if I was going to go into another career, I had to find a real cookie cutter. I'm very good at customer service. So I had to find something in the customer service, and so I figured I'd find a franchise and have something laid out. I found a franchise in this downsizing business. After looking at the disclosure statements and all that, I said, you know what? I could do this myself. I don't necessarily need a franchise. I had a lot of contacts in the Westchester area and the Hudson Valley, and I knew I can get off to a running start. And that's what we did. And we started in 2022. And I, joined my BNIs and my real estate association groups and everything you have to do to network and get your name out there. And then I had an old employee call me because when I was with JP McHale, we had a division that did restoration work, much like a ServPro. And he had said, hey, I got all this equipment and, I was hoping maybe you would want to get back in the business with me. And I said, you know what, let's do it. So I ended up bringing on the restoration business and we became RDM restoration and move managers. And I found that I became a real niche for the real estate market because the real estate people really needed a one source solution for all their obstacles, right? So what are the obstacles that real estate agents have, right? When they're selling a house? It's mold, water in the basement, an elderly person that needs to be downsized, a hoarder, or radon. Okay, those are the things that prior to selling a house, you have to resolve before you can actually sell it. So I'm that one-stop solution, right? I can take care of the radon. We are New York State certified. I can take care of the mold. Again, New York State certified. We can help downsize a senior or a couple that needs help, right? Because I'm a member of the NASAM, National Association of Senior Move Managers. We can we can resolve the water problem in your basement. So I found that, to the real estate market, I became this one-stop solution. And they didn't have to become the GC and bring in the mold guy to do this and bring the radon. And next thing you know, they're more focused on getting the house resolved than selling the house. And so I kind of relieved that pressure. And our business has grown quite a bit. I mean, we went from doing $5,000 a month to $115,000 a month consistently.
Wow.
And that's over a two and a half year period. Yeah.
Impressive. And how many team members are there? How many people do you have on board?
So we have 10 people altogether on staff. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. So we're going to talk more about, seniors, whether you're looking to downsize, maybe got water in the basement, mold contamination. There's a lot that you can help with. And even you mentioned radon. And so there's a lot that you can help people with. Do you want to share some more details and give us some stories?
So a lot of that goes hand in hand too, right? So especially if you're dealing with a hoarder, which, sometimes hoarding comes in later in life. I even find I'm 53 and I'm holding on to things, whether it's sentimental or psychological.
I have a hoarding room in my house. I have a spare room I have 2 young kids, but bins of papers, of things, and I just can't get rid of it. And it's spewing into the hallway now. And I'm like...
Yeah, and sometimes you don't want to because your kid made something that was so cute. And you're like, God, I feel so guilty if I throw this away. So I'm going to hold on to it. And it just keeps escalating. And next thing you know, you got a hoarding room. Well, as these people get older, and my mom guilty as well, they tend to hold on to things, I think, more for sentimental value and security, right? So, again, it's just one of those things that can become a problem, not realizing it in the beginning and until you have to sell the house, right? So, so all those things we can help a client. But again, when it comes to hoarding, when there's so much content, it actually stops circulation in a room, okay? And what happens when you don't get circulation in a room? You get mold. So a lot of this goes hand in hand. Once I start decluttering someone's home, I'll end up finding a lot of mold behind certain content that's been stacked for years because there's just no circulation there. So believe it or not, the downsizing and the mold business go hand in hand. And I come across that a lot. It hides a lot of things. Even in the pest control business, it's very hard to control pests at a hoarder's house or someone that had a lot of content because it creates a lot of nooks and crannies for pests to live in, and it's very hard to treat. So a lot of these solutions begin just from removing content,
Wow. This is amazing, and I can't believe, you're helping so many people with this. You clearly are passionate about this and what you do, and God bless you on expanding, this business. So you're working in these are a lot of commercial buildings, businesses you're helping, and also personal homes and dwellings as well.
Yeah, most of the work is residential, right? So again, I work with the real estate market.
Yeah.
I go in, I do lunch and learns to educate them on how I can help them, close deals, right? So they can focus more on selling homes. I'll take care of the minutia of this house that you're selling to get rid of whatever you need to get rid of, right? So it's like I'm RDM Move. That's my website, because I'm going to move the radon out of your house. I'm going to move content. I'm going to move the mold. I'm going to move the water, whatever those obstacles are. And what's really cool about our business is we solve the problem that caused whatever it is, right? So with the exception of the hoarder. But if it's mold, if it's water in the basement, if it's radon, whatever those issues are, we'll come in there, we'll mitigate it, and then put in systems to make sure it doesn't happen again. So unlike these bigger companies that go in, they'll just do the mitigation, and then you're left on your own to figure out a way to make sure it doesn't happen again. We're not like that. We'll stick through it from the beginning to the end, and then put a guarantee on it that it doesn't happen again.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. All right. Well, also, could you share a story or two of some of these places, the people you're helping? It's always good to get, testimonials about the work you're doing, in a sense.
Oh God, geez, I have so many. We can. Well, I had this one realtor give me a call in Pleasantville. It was one of the first jobs I was with working, and he says, "Hey, I have a woman. She's in her 80s. She's looking to move out to Chicago. She lives in a 2-bedroom condo in Pleasantville, and she's a hoarder. I can't show the apartment. I can't even take pictures of it to list it. And she's very difficult. She doesn't really, work well with others that want to move her content. There's a trust issue there." So I said, "Anthony, I got this. Don't worry about it." And we went in. We brought my wife, Lisa, who's amazing. And Lisa worked with her. And for 2 months, we were able to gain her trust and clean up her unit. We moved some stuff into storage. We packed some stuff, donated it. We did some auctions. We get rid of content in many ways, right? Auctions, donations, junking, and just storage. But we created such a clean space for her. And not only a clean space, a safe space. She walked with a cane. And it was such a tripping hazard. I mean, all she had to do was get her foot, her cane just caught on something. She lived alone. It could have been a really dangerous situation. And in 2 months, we had the place clean. The realtor was able to come in, take pictures. In a week, an accepted offer, and she's living happily in Chicago. So that, to me, that was a great story. Everything worked out perfect.
So it is a family business as well. Do it is. Kids
I have
and your wife, obviously. So, what compassion! I mean, sometimes women are better with women, right? But that's beautiful. The two of you were able to do that.
Yeah, I think that when you're, especially with your seniors, I feel there's a trust issue a lot of times. There's so many people out there that take advantage of our seniors, and then that gets out, and everyone's on edge. My wife's been amazing. And, one of the things I pride myself on is integrity. We did that when I was in the family business, in the pest control business, which was also a family business. It was all about integrity, hard work, integrity, everything else will follow. Communication, integrity, show up every day. If you do those 3 things, everything else will follow. Success, money, everything else will follow. I tell that to my kids. So now I have my wife and my 2 boys who just graduated college, each in the business, and my daughter, hopefully when she graduates Virginia Tech, she's only a freshman right now, she'll join. She'll be an amazing business developer. She's got the gift of gab, and someone like that would be really vital to my organization. It's all about networking and who you know and doing the right thing and meeting people in the right time in the right place.
Beautiful. Well, being this is our first show together, what else did you want to make sure we cover for today to have your viewers and listeners, of course, get to know you and the company and all that you provide and can help with?
Yeah. So, a lot of times, with especially in the remediation process, if there's a claim, one of the big misconceptions, if you're a homeowner, and let's just say in the Northeast, we're having a real big deep freeze here, and we're getting a lot of jobs with broken pipes, right? Frozen pipes bursting and flooding one's basement, and that's an insurance claim. So what do? The first thing you do is you call your insurance agent up. Hey, I got a claim. I was away for a week, came home, and my basement's flooded. What do I do? And they usually will say, okay, we're going to send out a claims adjuster. And in the meantime, you have to call Serpro. That's who you call, or whoever the company may be. That's on their list. So the homeowner thinks that they have to call what the insurance company tells them to call. That is not the case. You can use anybody you want. That's just the person that's on that list.
Got it.
That paid to get on that list. You can use anybody you want as the remediator. You do not have to use the insurance company's recommendation. So that's one of the biggest things that I wanted to get across. And then the other thing is, when it comes to selling a home, Jill, it's all about time, right? Money, time is money. So people want to, get their house on the market as quick as possible. And so I provide that service. We do everything efficiently, professionally, and we get it done right. And I have 10 people for a reason, because I want to be able to tell a client, yeah, I can get there tomorrow. I'll never tell a client I'll be out there in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. They'll just find somebody else. So I always have people on call, ready to go. And that's one of the services that I think I separate myself from others, right? I can call a restoration company up right now and hey, I have mold in the basement. When can you guys get here? It might be 3 weeks. And when the real estate business, you can't afford that, right? You got to get it done. So their closings in 3 weeks, right? So we have to get it done before the closing. The other thing is with timing, when it comes to downsizing, if I give my price to downsize, let's just say it's a big house, it's a $5,000 downsize, and it includes auctions, and 100% of the auctions goes back to the client, right, to offset the cost of this whole downsizing process. Donations, moving, all that stuff. It's a $5,000 price, packing, whatever it is. And the client goes, oh, that seems kind of expensive. I think I'm going to do it on the weekends, or my children. Okay, that's fine. You could do it on the weekends, but it's going to take you probably, 3 months to do this, right?
Yeah.
And where it's going to take me 3 days. Exactly. So in those 3 months, they're going to pay for property tax, utility costs, general upkeep. They're still going to pay the $5,000. You're just not going to pay it to me. They're going to pay it to somebody else. And then they may lose, in that 3 month window, there could be a drop in the real estate market, which is hot right now, but you don't know what's going to happen 3 months from now.
True. And
they could lose that opportunity. So it's all about timing. And that, again, I've done jobs that are $10,000 downsizing jobs, and I've gotten them done in 5 days. I've done one that was $30,000. It did take me 3 weeks to do it. But with the auction and some of the recycling, I ended up getting back $17,000 back to the client to offset the cost. So that was another good story.
Amazing. Well, I love hearing these stories. You clearly are passionate about what you're doing. And I love that this is also family business out there working hard. Holidays, weekends, you work it all, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah. We, and my phone's, that's one thing about the family business. I never stop working. So whether it's on a Sunday, Christmas Eve, if I get a call, I take it. It does upset the family a little bit, but you got to do what you got to do. And everyone in my in my business is the same way, right? So we're very passionate, and I think that's a good culture, and it starts from the top. If you ever walk into any business and the people are happy, if it's at the counter or answering the phones, it starts from the top, right? And if you go to a business, and they're miserable at the counter, they're miserable on the phone, I guarantee if you meet the owner, he's miserable too. So it all trickles down. So if you're happy, pushing a good culture, it's going to reflect through everybody that works for you.
Wow. And what do you do in your spare time? Do you have any hobbies, anything? Do you like traveling? Is there any spare time in your life and downtime?
Yeah, no, I'm constantly, I travel. My wife and I were in Greece this past September.
Where'd you go? Just curious. What island?
Santorini and Mykonos.
I took my kids there. Okay, my ex-boyfriend, he has a place there. So for 2 years in a row, they were like 5 and 7 at the time, and 6 and 0 was hard. But we actually did that, and it was not so fun with the kids, but beautiful. I'm like,
oh my God, it's gorgeous. Yeah.
Wow.
So we're empty nesters this year, so we plan on doing a lot of traveling. That was our first getaway. Our next one is to Portugal next fall. I travel. I'm an avid golfer. I love golf. I've been playing for a long time. We do water sports. We have a little lake house upstate. I try to get out and live life as much. I'm 53 years old, so I figure I got a good 20 years of being active before, hopefully till the day I die. I mean, I am constantly moving. I never stop.
Amazing. And also just want to point out, some other services that are included in your full service approach, air duct cleaning, installation as well, right? I know I read that earlier on the website.
Yeah, so again, the installation, air duct cleaning usually goes hand in hand. Everyone should have their air ducts cleaned every 2 to 3 years, depending on the activity in your house, right?
Can I just ask what that means? Like, I know I have I don't know the terminology, AC handler or something in the basement, one in the attic, and those it's like gray silver things. And I'm wondering what the heck is in them. It must be dirty. Are those ducts that you're talking about being cleaned? Or
yeah, so we hook up what's called a negative air machine that has 2 HEPA filters on it, and we attach that to the unit, which is either in the basement or the attic, and usually there's one in each. Like I have one in the basement, one in the attic.
Yeah, and
then we create a suction towards that vacuum, and we seal off all the vents, the registers. Those are the grates that are in your floor and the wall. And we seal them all off except for the one we're working on. So it really creates pressure, right? A suction pressure. And we use an agitator to agitate the air ducts, and we work back towards the unit. So you start from the furthest vent out, working its way back to the unit, and we do that for each unit. And we usually throw the dryer vent in for free. It's fairly reasonable. It's an average house is probably about $1,200.
Like, I'm curious, what do you find in it? Is it dust and dirt or objects? Like,
yeah, well, it depends on the house, right? In my house, you find a lot of dog hair. You find pennies and all kinds of. If you have a lot of kids, you'll find lollipops and candy and that stuff. Even though it's funny, but when it sits there, it can collect mold, right?
I was going to say, well, how do you know they're not moldy inside those vents?
Well, if you don't clean them, it will get moldy. Because you'll get condensation in there. It all depends on the household too, right? So if you have air ducts going through like a dank crawl space, let's say, or a dank basement, that air is getting, even though it's contained inside the air duct, there are some leaks.
Yeah.
And it can actually draw in air from that crawl space or that dank area and create a problem in the air ducts. So we also seal the air ducts too to make sure they're more efficient. And the insulation is another great service. Again, it goes hand in hand with the mold, right? If you have really bad insulation, especially in an attic, you will get mold, right? So what do you do especially in a winter like this? You turn the heat on. Heat rises, it bleeds through the ceiling, it bleeds through that really poor insulation you have up there, hits the underside of a cold roof. So you have hot and cold. What do you get? Condensation. Your attic will get filled with mold if you don't have good insulation. So again, it goes hand in hand. We mitigate the mold, rip out the old insulation, air seal, put down the new insulation.
Wow, good to know, because I'm thinking my air handlers, my AC, I moved to this house 8 years ago, but they're like 25 years old already and they're still working. But now my question is, how do I know whether I should be replacing those things or getting them cleaned, right? When I get new AC units, how do you know?
Well, an AC unit, they usually go for about 15. Again, it all depends on how much you're using it, how big your house is, the quality of the unit. But on average, for about 15 years, it's so weird. I have two. The upstairs unit, which has to work harder because heat rises, so the air conditioner has to work harder. I've gone through two of them in the last 22 years. The one that's on the main floor is still the original one.
Okay.
So again, it's the one that works harder is I've gone through two of them in the last 22 years, but the one that's on the main floor I still have and it works fine.
Got it. All right. Well, thank you so much. Pleasure getting to know you and, of course, your business. How can we reach you? Could you share all the options, the website, phone number?
So,
thank you.
You can search on all the social media sites, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Just put RDM Move Managers or Move Managers and Restoration, and you will find us. Our website's very easy. It's rdmmove.com. That's rdmmove.com. And our direct line is 914-245-3100.
Perfect.
Easy.
Thank you so much. Pleasure having you here, getting to know you. And again, whether you have a life transition and you need some help because we know it's emotional, it's overwhelming, they're really here to help manage all of your needs and in a respectable, caring approach, which I love. Thank you so much, Rich McHale, for joining us today and looking forward to the next time we get to connect. I'm so glad we made this happen and glad we got it together. This is awesome. Great stuff. I'm on your Instagram page now. I'm going to follow you, okay?
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
have a great
Jill.
day. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her?
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge?
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! Is now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend?
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.